sunsets and sunrises and that absence. And we've been together on deer hunts and stuff, and just no talking. Just being out there. The one morning that we watched all those wood ducks pile in that back. It's just incredible. You're just absent, and it's the closest I would feel to any type of godly realm as far as the quietness, the calmness. There's no noise, And I was thinking, I was like, well, absent with our Lord. I was like, that's something cool. And I think for me, the outdoors and anything hunting or, fishing a pond bank, even if it's your pond in the backyard, me in my own head or, whatever, I can get that space. So that was what I was thinking about the page. And that was kind of how I was like, well, if we do this and, we get, guys like Aaron Hall, your friend, we call him Biff at work, but, the guys doing, ruck to work stuff every day, every single day. He's probably close to 200 days. It's a little 3-minute, ruck to work. If you guys want to follow him, he's on Facebook. It's Aaron Hall. He's from Harrisburg or El Dorado. The guy's awesome. Leadership, faith-based, family man, works hard. Me and Biff are kind of into the same sports realm, rucking, lifting weights, running 5Ks. So that's, he's going to be one.
Call that the
he's going to be one
man,
guy.
Young ladies game.
Yeah, he's going to be one of these guys that, if we can get him in here consistently and do some audio or video or something with him, it could be cool.
Yeah,
it's even more people.
And going back to what Matt was talking about, the sunrise and sunsets, and I was just telling her story right before we had sat down to do this about and what's bad, it was just a week ago again, and I could not remember who was in the blind with me, but I believe there were 3 of us, and we sat there silent for hours. Nobody said anything. We just stood, looked up out of the hole, quiet, and finally I think I broke the silence after a couple hours, maybe approaching 2.5, and we're like, wow. And everybody's like, that was kind of nice, just be able to zone out and watch the sun, watch the corn sway. And one thing cool that actually broke the silence, and I remember it, we saw a red-tailed hawk swoop down over the top of the corn, and we were just watching, looking at the sky, quiet as could be, and it lifted up and just like completely went vertical, but then dropped, and like just all of a sudden, without, I guess, like going limp, and just did backflips, and it was going after a blackbird, and it was maneuvering, trying to like fake this blackbird out and drop down on top of it. We both like
nature?
Looked at each other. Yeah,
like
nature just out there. And I said, he's like, wow, that was cool. I was like, that was cool. You saw that backflip? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's why we do this. You don't get to see that.
That
and
or
you're
the
quiet,
eagles or
still, and the funny thing is, when she was talking about that, I'm like, a lot of those times, and y'all probably be lying, or maybe I'm just that selfish. I'm up there, and during that meditation time, that quiet time, the sunrise, and I do feel that spiritual connection. Sometimes God, it'd be all right if you send me that buck I've been seeing on film. I'd be lying if I didn't. Every now and then, usually it's getting late in the season by then, and I'm
Please
like, just make this one opportunity happen, because you only get 1 or 2 at those big bucks. If today could be the day, it'll be awesome. But if not, I'm still gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And sometimes, that ends up like that. Not all the time, but sometimes. But I do enjoy that quiet time, the sunrise, sunset, the meditation of it, and that is the time I'm absent with our Lord a lot right there. Because why? I try to be a godly man at my house. Why? I think it's important for my children to see it, to not be ashamed, to have my Bible out on my nightstand every single day, every single night, to involve them to go with me when we baptize this young man in a river, in the cold, in our clothes. Why? Because it's that important. It has to happen sometimes right then, right there, don't matter weather conditions. And to see that, because at the end of the day, that's my job, is to take that time, that opportunity to just like passing down the tradition of how to track a buck, how to track a blood trail,
that's
how
good.
to do that is to instill those values that it's important. My son last night, you can't make this stuff up, going to bed, and I'm sure it was just tired, but Dad, I don't feel good. I said, oh man, I'm sorry, my belly hurts. Yeah, I know. Will you pray for me? Yes, I will. Why? Because that's what I do every time he comes to me sick. Let me pray for you, son. That just at 6 years old, you instill that in them, that's the first thing we do whenever we're hurt, whenever we don't know the answer, whenever we're got nothing else to lean on. If you lean on that, you're never going to fail you. If you lean on God, he's never going to fail you. If you put him first, the outcome's going to be a whole lot better than if you did. And trust me, I'm that guy. Sometimes I'm hard-headed and try and figure it out myself, and then I'm like, all right, I'm not getting anywhere, so I need to step back
So
and
what
realize
do you,
who's in control.
on that topic or that rabbit hole, which is a good one, I think the dynamic of, you being the spotlight of AWOL is like you're a man's man, but you.
Is it because of the sweet Fu Manchu I got? Right?
You guys see his facial hair. Oh my gosh. Beard Manchu. No, but you make it, we just had dinner and, you make it a point, you guys praise the family before you eat. And, I had that. I had a good growing up, but there are so many that did not. And so many that had, manly men that think they're too good to show that or put that first. What do you think the importance is of that? Or I guess you at your age, when did you really know that had to happen?
I tell my kids, and I tell them as plainly as I possibly can. I said, I had my priorities, and I've said it out loud, and it was 100% what I felt in my heart as a young man. That, and it's dumb, but how they talk about money is, I said by the age of 31 I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to have $1 million. That was what I wanted to, which I was no dummy. I was raised to work. I had a job from 15 years old before I had my license. I was a parts runner and wire puller and did all that, and there was nothing out of the ordinary for that. So I understood what it took to get there, and I worked hard for it. I worked a lot of hours, a lot of weekends, drove lots of doubles, all that stuff, because why? I wanted money. I knew what it took.
Was faith or God a part of?
No, not at that time. But now that I'm older and I'm wiser, I was a young man, I was hungry for that.
But you knew, right? Especially with Brother Boyd, which is his grandfather. And you knew.
I knew the truth.
You knew.
And that's what I tell my kids now. I said, and I'd like to think I'm fairly successful in life. I still have a lot to learn, but at 42 I feel pretty good about where I'm at in life, and that's what I tell them, that story, to tell them I realized I had my priorities wrong. And if I could take back, I said, and of course them, I'm old. I don't feel old, but I look back when I was their age, my age seemed old too. So I'm the old man, and I'd say if the old man can tell you anything, if I can give you anything you can take to the bank, that you can hang your hat on, however you want to say it, Southern acronym you want to throw on it, you can, this horse, lead it to water, it'll drink, whatever. I said, put those things aside. Put that aside. You can't outgive God, one, but here's what I can tell you. If I can give you one thing to make you successful in life, trust in God. I said, I did it wrong. I didn't have it right. I said, and if you think, pretty smart guy now, don't have it all figured out, but I said, if I can give you anything to pass on, is God will not leave you. He will not forsake you. And if you put him first, everything's going to come out right. And I said, if I can teach you that one thing, that one truth, and you never believe anything I say, believe that. Because I believe that with all my heart. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I live the way I live and act the way I act, because I want them to know that is my one truth. There's lots of things I can teach them. And I said, but I want to make that evident through the faith I have, yeah. There's a person in the driveway with cancer, they're not leaving here without getting prayed
Yeah,
for.
true.
No
Well,
matter
we
if
did
they're
it, yeah.
who they are or where they come from. If they're like, well, I got some bad news, guess what? You're getting prayed for if you'll allow it.
Yeah.
Those kind of things that at first I remember I was that age like, oh goodness, here we go again, Mom and Dad, what's going on? But I want them to see that. And you know what? Usually anytime it's ever happened, it's never, people understand that there's power in prayer.
Oh,
Even the faith of just stepping out on that, saying, I trust God that everything's in His control. I don't know how the outcome's going to be, but I'm going to trust God that He's got His hand on this. And that's what I tell my kids. If I can teach you anything, if you take anything away from me, not how to work hard. I hope you're hard workers. Not how to listen to people. I hope you're good listeners. Not how to behave, but I hope you behave. I think I've taught you all those right things. But even if you don't listen to me, even if you go down, take this one thing for truth. Have faith. Put God first. Trust in Him. Seek after Him. Anything you do for His kingdom will not return void. Can't outgive. You can't outbless. You can't outdo. You can't, you got it in your heart to drive here. Okay, is that a thought? Do it. Something good's going to come out of it. Yeah, I wrecked my car out of it. Well, what did He protect you from doing that? Because if you're doing something for His kingdom, there's a purpose for it.
Yeah, I think it, and I can see, which, you got 4 kids and you got all different ages, but, with the oldest 2 being teenagers, I look at Pat and AJ, me losing my dad at 14, I didn't process it then like I do now as an adult at 32. Wow, my mom and dad had faith-based values. My dad was church God, my grandparents church God. My grandma would pray for a teddy bear, I remember that growing up being little, and I took that for granted then, but now I'm this was generationally, which your kids will appreciate that too. It's just my mom and dad are men and women of God, and they believe, and it's real. And just like I guess for me, I always get caught up on services where I see kids really connect, and I think that AJ and Patton are that 14, 16-year-old, you're trying to figure out who you're gonna be, and that pressure. And I remember when I was that age and I was in church, and then I would remember major services or conferences or VBS things, and when I can see them connect and get it, this Sunday, AJ got it, it was, it's cool, because if they're doing it now, then they're gonna do it then, and then they have that generation. And trust me, the kids, what they grow up in now, wow, what will they see, when they're 30?
To your point, I've said that to Cassie too. I said, she's a young lady. We're not going to teach her. We've all been to those ages where our parents can't teach us.
We know what we were doing at 16, and wow.
And that's what I meant by that story, is you're going to have to figure a lot of things out on your own. And trust me, the Steinsalts make rough, hard-headed decisions. We have to figure things out the hard way. But if I can tell you one easy thing, let me tell you that. So that's when I see that, just what you mentioned.
Yeah.
I feel that as a W for a parent. I'm
oh yeah.
We'll all figure out our own walk with God. To each his own. There are some certain truths and maybe core beliefs I hold. Maybe we'll have a chance to get into that in our next podcast, or maybe down the road, things of that nature. But as simple as laying a hands-on prayer and things like that. But if I can teach her that, and when I see that, I'm all right. Because she may stray to the left, may stray to the right, but she's got the core.
And something always to fall back to. That's, more than we could ever imagine, even then, no matter how far you stray. Once you get it, and you know that it's real, you can't you can't get away from it.
It's like the story of John, you know, and the others saying I'm going to quit saying, you know, that's kind of I'll stop that. But
It's okay. I say
you don't
or
you don't get good to get God. You get God to get good.
Yeah.
I'm not different than any other person. I've had my shortcomings. I've had my failures. But one of my favorite verses, I've shared it, is Philippians. Forget what happened yesterday. Put those things behind you. Get up. Press towards the mark of the higher calling God. Every day is a new day. Good Dr. Jordan Peterson says it. Set your goals 5 years. Every day work to get a little bit better, the version of yourself than the day before. 5 years, you may still not be exactly where you were, but you're going to be better than what you were 5 years ago. So I do that using that Bible scripture is I make mistakes today. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to wake up and press harder than I did the day before for the higher calling of God. So thanks for joining us for our first podcast. Try and keep it to about 30 minutes. We ran a little bit over for our first one, but that was easy to do.
Cut it up and splice it apart. But I can't believe at first I was like, all right, what are we going to talk about? But that was very good. It was a good intro. So now we're going to have topics, and you guys can comment and drop us topics, what you want us to talk about. I mean, those are always good. Q&A things. Leave us questions. Jonathan, Cassie are pro parents. So I would say anything about kids, don't ask me. I can teach you how to.
My beautiful wife is here, Cassie, too,
Cassie's
by the way.
too.
She was silent, but she's got a lot to say.
We're gonna do one more, and she's gonna be in it, and we'll do that next. We'll maybe do a little family zone.
Jonathan, Mackenzie,
Amazing.
Team AWOL.
Out.